This is Texans TV. Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your local Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
We are ready to rock at NRG Stadium. Whitney Merciless with the sack. Throws left side of the end zone. Caught. Hopkins. Touchdown, Houston.
Welcome one, welcome all to Texans Extra Points. Can you believe it? It's the middle of the playoffs and the Texans are still in it, and that's a great thing. Drew Doherty, your host, with two of my good pals in Cecil Shorts, a receiver for the Texans back in the day, had a nice long NFL career, and Clint Sterner, former quarterback for, well, Baytown Lee, Arkansas Razorbacks, the Dallas Cowboys, and now you're on Sports Radio 610. We've got a lot to discuss like we always do, but first, we start things off with the news of the week and quick hits, and the Texans pulled off a miraculous win last Saturday against the Buffalo Bills. A victory tomorrow against the Kansas City Chiefs would put them into their first AFC title game in franchise history. But don't worry about that because there's a task at hand, and Deshaun Watson and company are focused on it.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is really just kind of just focusing on the task at hand. We can't worry about next week because next week is not promised. So we just take it one play at a time, one snap at a time, and the most important play is always the next play. And the most important, I guess, meeting or most important thing throughout the week is the next task at hand. And, and we're just going to focus and take it one step at a time until, game time hit, and then we're just going to take it from there. We got to worry about the moment now and take care of the moment now. And then we'll see what happens whenever that time comes.
The Texans were without wide receiver Will Fuller last weekend, and there's a good chance he goes on Sunday against the Chiefs. We're going to discuss a little bit later his impact on the offense, but we have an update on what number 15 might do.
We're going to continue to work with him throughout the week and see where he's at. I know he's progressing in the right direction, and but I know he's doing better. But I'm not sure that I'd be able to sit up here and tell you that, yeah, he's all the way back. But
back to the Chiefs. That offense is led by Patrick Mahomes, and he's got weapons aplenty in Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, and more.
Hey, he's a great player. They centered that offense around him. And guy who can definitely sling that rock, also be able to run. We faced several quarterbacks like that this year, and so it's very difficult to go against somebody like that. Thing is, we have to have disciplined pass rush going against them. We got to be disciplined in the secondary as well too, handling the receiving core, as well as the tight end core as well too.
All right, so that's what's gone down this week here in Houston Texans land, and there's a lot of smart guys in Las Vegas, and those smart guys think the Texans are 9.5-point underdogs. A little surprising to me, but even though that's the line and that's what people think about things, there's a lot of reasons for confidence with this Texans team on the road against Kansas City. Let's start with you, Clint. Why not?
Well, I think the fact that they played well in Arrowhead week 6 is first and foremost. That's not an easy place. It's never easy to go on the road in the NFL.
Right.
That's not an easy place to play on the road in the NFL as far as being a hostile environment. They've got a lot of weapons, even if a couple of guys were hobbled. And so history is on the Texans side. You've got a recent taste of what it feels like to go on the road and get a victory. And I think they're a significantly better football team right now than they were week 6 as well. More confident. I think they're more talented. They're healthier. So there's several reasons why I'd be pretty confident if I was the Texans rolling into this game.
Amen to that. What's your reasons for confidence, sir?
I couldn't agree more. When you go to Arrowhead week 6, when you weren't supposed to win, you go down there in that environment and win. Now, the two teams are different now on both ends.
Sure.
But I think the Texans, like Clint said, are a better team. Plus, when you have number 4 back there, and when you see what he did last week, you can't be nothing but confident going to this week.
Yeah, let's stick with that. What growth have you seen from him? Let's go back to playoff game against the Colts last year.
Yeah.
Let's go first half this year, playoff game, to now. What sort of growth did you see him go through? Because he said it was faster going into last week's game, but still, there was something that's different about him this time around.
Well, I think when you have experience in the playoffs, last year was his first time experiencing that, and then, like he said, it's a different speed from preseason to regular season, from regular season to the playoffs, and he got to experience that last year. So this year, first half, I think he didn't play that bad. Second half, he's like, listen, let me settle down, find my open guys, get rid of the ball quick, and when I need to make a play with my legs, I can do it. And when you got a guy that can command like that, that makes everybody around you better. I mean, Duke Johnson on the touchdown run, blocking 2 guys, like him giving that type of effort, and you've seen it from multiple guys in that second half. He can command a room and make everybody in the team better.
All right, so based on what we saw last weekend offensively, now you might get to sprinkle in a little bit of Will Fuller and maybe a little bit of Jordan Akins too. What's that do? How's that change things?
Just going back to Thursday night against the Colts, when Will Fuller was playing lights out, 2 deep balls, he opened up the whole offense for the whole entire squad. So now you can't just focus on Hopkins. Guess what? You got Will Fuller to account of. You got Kenny Stills on your nickel, on your third corner. You got the guys in the backfield. But if I remember correctly, Will Fuller had a decent game the first time they played him. He dropped 2 passes in the end zone.
Yep.
So if I'm Kansas City, I'm thinking back in my head, okay, I know he can make plays. He might have dropped those 2 passes, touchdowns, but we cannot let him get behind us. He's a playmaker.
That's the other big thing about Week 6 was if you go back and watch that game, and especially in the first half, a lot of things went against the Texans.
Yes.
They were still able to get a lead at halftime and win that football game.
We're going to get a little bit deeper into that in a minute, but there also was no Kenny Stills that first go-around, and that means a whole heck of a lot. And so does the Texans telestrator, and that's when John Harris goes X's and O's on us like he did here.
Welcome to Texans Telestrator, presented by BMW. I'm your host, John Harris, and we're going to take a look at one of the key plays. And we talked to a lot of people about the game on Saturday against the Bills. It may have been the key play. It's 13-0 at this point, 13-0, and it's a 3rd down for the Bills, and J.J. Watt is going to make a play. Now, we talk about J.J. making a play here, but this is a really good, as soon as I had a chance to watch the All-22, I got a chance to see rushing coverage really working together, and the coverage is very, very good. The Texans are going to play man on this. You can see this right away. These 3 over here, that's Roby, that's Conley, and that's Vernon right here, are going to play man-to-man on that bunch right there. Then over here, you've got Knox and you've got Singletary. And so you're going to have, I think it's Justin. Justin Reed's going to be man-to-man here, and then Zach Cunningham is going to pop out and cover Singletary out that way. So that's going to leave everybody up here get a chance to come rush, and the Bills, knowing where JJ is, they're going to slide their protection this way to JJ. So Whitney is going to get a shot on Singletary, and then all of a sudden, there's nobody to block him. And so Allen sees that, and when Allen sees it and pulls it down, it turns, wham, he gets hit by 99. So let's take a look at this. You can see the coverage from here, and then we'll focus on JJ. Now the Bills have got releases. They're going to cross, but you can see how Vernon matches up with Duke Williams. Conley is waiting on Beasley, and then Roby is on John Brown. Watch that bunch and how good it, look at that. That is really good. I mean, that is excellent out of a bunch. I know someone say, wait a second, what about that? No, he's short of the sticks. First down marker's there. You let him catch that, and you just eliminate him with the tackle right there every day. So good job on the bunch. Now let's take a look at the other side. You got the back flare, and Zach sees it, so Zach is not going to get picked off by Knox. And then you got Justin Reed right there, so that's out. Good coverage here. Got all this taken care of. You got Mike Adams sitting in the middle right there, playing over the top, so it's just cover 1. You got B-Mac who can pick off anybody, so he's just kind of, robbing in the middle, like who's going to come in that area. And now look at Allen. He's like, well, what do I do? He's got issues because now Whitney's dead on him. So as soon as he realizes that, bang. See, he tries to go the other way, and then bang, there's JJ. So to get a good view of JJ, let's take a look at this side right here. So you saw the coverage. Now Allen gets everybody set up, and then up front, they're going to slide this thing as they get ready here over to JJ, which means they're just going to slide here so that they get some help on JJ. But it's eventually going to be a one-on-one with Cody Ford. He's a rookie. He's a really good football player right here, number 70. No match for JJ. Allen comes up, and this is where he's checking right here, his protection. And you can see how the Bills, see how they all slide this way? Kind of slide that way. And now we'll take a look at Ford on Watt. JJ gets his hands down and then rips underneath. Get him down and rip. Get him down and rip. And then, the one thing, if you're a pass rusher out there watching, young pass rusher, you want to learn how to do it, efficiency and movement. swat him down and rip. But then JJ takes a 90-degree angle to the quarterback. He doesn't get shoved upfield like a lot of guys do, or even just stonewalled. He then bends and then goes right through Ford's outside shoulder to make sure he takes a direct line to Josh Allen. And sack. Now, I don't know if anybody believes in momentum or you believe in momentum. All I know is NRG Stadium went apoplectic when that happened. It forced a field goal, but you could sense that the building had been waiting to explode, and it did. And after that, the Texans wanted to score 19 straight points to take a lead, and they would win this thing in overtime. And perhaps the biggest play in this whole entire game happened right here with that sack by J.J. Watt.
We got some next-gen stats powered by AWS, and boy, there's a bunch of them. In the first half against the Bills, DeAndre Hopkins was in the slot 75% of the time, and then he explodes in the second half, was only in the slot 38.6% of the time, and all 6 of his receptions for 90 yards came after the intermission. And Deshaun Watson did it all. We talked about the passing. He had 14 rushing attempts. That was a career high, scored the touchdown, and that is one of the reasons the Texans were able to triumph over the Bills. Those were many of the reasons they were able to triumph over the Bills. So Drew Doherty, Cecil Shorts, and my guy Clint Sterner. Let's talk a little defense because J.J. Watt was back, and J.J. Watt was back in full effect. Didn't look too much like the pec bothered him at all. I mean, he was able to bull rush, as Seth Payne was pointing out on the radio, and then in the press conference with JJ this week, he says he's on a kind of a pitch count. They have a plan again, but we saw the plan get thrown out the window last week.
Yeah. First of all, I was surprised. I'll be honest with you. I didn't expect him to be able to play reckless. Like, he had like a reckless abandon. He looked like himself. He had no issues. I'm watching him closely. There was no concerns. There was never a time when he grabbed his shoulder or came out the game. And then the second half, when he needed the most, he made plays. He was himself. So you can't say enough for how he impacts the defense of him alone, but him on the field, you got to respect him. And I think that opened up Merciless. That opened up Jacob Martin, opened up other guys on the defensive line. So not just him making the play, but helping up other guys making plays as well.
Yeah, the trickle-down effect is real. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He can obviously impact the pass game. He can obviously impact the run game for the opponent. But when you talk about what it means for Jacob Martin, Whitney Merciless, we broke it down on film last night. Sliding to JJ all the time gives those two guys who use speed. They use different moves to get open. The bull rush is not their forte. They need space. They now have space. You talk about McKinney and Cunningham being able to roam at the second level a little bit more freely with J.J. Watt. That's a big trickle-down effect. And then in the secondary, I mean, you get a good pass rush. The ball starts coming out with a little bit unclear decisions made by the quarterback. So we saw Bradley Roby had a chance to get a couple of interceptions and didn't complete the play, but he did get his hand on football. He's got good pass breakups. So those are all trickle-down effects of 99 being in the game and having a good pass rush.
I want to get back to Roby in just a second, but you never, ever want to lose J.J. Watt. I mean, you wanted him the rest of this, the whole season long. But if there was any little bit of silver lining in his absence, these guys had to work on one-on-one moves in a game and refine them. And then when he's back, you know, they're able to win those matchups. Some of them have talked about that. How valuable was that time away for J.J. Watt for these other guys, maybe?
Man, look, it's extremely valuable. And you didn't mention Romeo Crennel. Right?
I did not.
You talk about everybody that all of a sudden Jacob Martin and Whitney Merciless, they had to get real creative and try to figure out a bull rush and how to beat double teams and how to beat a slide and how to beat chips all the time. You talk about Romeo Crennel having to overcome injuries at all 3 levels of this defense. Yeah. When defense coordinators do that, you figure out, hey, man, I didn't even know that we could do this over here really, really well. So let's implement that into our game plan and our identity of our defense. So great job by all guys getting through that adversity, and it means more, and the package overall for 11 guys on defense will be more extensive.
All right, I want to hear your thoughts on Roby, because since Thanksgiving, he's had a pick 6 against the Buccaneers. He darn near had one against the Patriots. He almost had one last week. Now he's going against a team he knows pretty intimately, playing them twice a year as a Bronco. He knows about these Chiefs, and he's done a pretty darn good job covering Tyreek Hill.
Yes, I mean, when you play against when he was in Denver, he played against the Chiefs twice a year for 4 years in a row. So you have a good good identity. You have a good understanding of what he wants to do, his strengths, his weaknesses. But going back to him as a Texan, since he came back from that hamstring, he's been playing outstanding.
Yeah.
I mean, the last few weeks, he's been playing at a really high level. And that brings a lot of confidence, not only for him, that he can check Tyreek Hill or whoever he has to, wherever Romeo decides in that scheme, but it gives confidence to the other DBs as well. Like, hey, let's rise up our game. Let's step up to the plate like Roby is. But Roby, man, he is playing at a very high level, and it's exciting to watch.
It sure is. And you know what else is exciting? Texans trivia. So we're going to break, but before we do, which Texan has 7 postseason sacks in his NFL career? Think about it. We'll be back in a little bit.
Fourth and 3 at the Chiefs' 27-yard line. Deshaun puts the leg down. Here's the snap. Watson throwing, and he hits Hopkins for a first down. The game is over. The Texans can kill the clock in Kansas City.
The Texans needed it on 4th and short, so do you kick the field goal with Kymie Fairbairn? Do you leave the ball in Deshaun Watson's hands? They left it in his hands. The Texans left Arrowhead victorious. Drew Doherty, Cecil Shorts, Clint Sterner. Let's talk about Pat Mahomes, because had they let Kymie Fairbairn kick the field goal, you're turning it over to that guy, and even though he'd struggled in the second half, you never want to give him the football late, do you?
Yeah, no. You never want to give him the football late. There's no doubt about it.
Or early, or in the middle.
Yeah, right. The whole point of the game.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, during the game plan and in the initial meeting Monday, one of the bullet points at the top of the list was we got to keep Pat Mahomes.
Let's go
on the
time of
sideline.
possession 52 minutes. How about that?
Yes.
What have you seen from Pat Mahomes? It was different in October. He was hobbled a little bit by but he was still very effective, and he's been effective since.
Well, for me, I think the biggest thing is Eric Fisher's back. He's healthy. Yep. You missed him in week 6, I think they played, and that's your left tackle. And I think he's important, extremely important when it comes to protecting Mahomes and him being comfortable in the pocket. He dealt with some injuries after the fact, even after week 6. He's fully healthy now. And guess what? Tyreek Hill is fully healthy and ready to grow. Travis Kelce a little banged up. He has a full arsenal. He's fully confident in what he's doing. His running backs are getting going now early on. Damian Williams and LaShawn McCoy, they were trying to figure that out. They kind of rested McCoy halfway during the season, say, hey, and Andy Reid knows McCoy best, right? He had him in Philadelphia. We're going to save you for the playoffs. But these guys are playing very confident, I think 6 games in a row, and Mahomes is playing at the highest level.
As a former quarterback, how much would you have loved to have thrown to a guy like Tyreek Hill?
Tyreek Hill special, but I'll say this, Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy, what those two guys do with Tyreek Hill is what makes that guy special. There's a lot of really good undersized athletes in this league. Now, none of them can run and play like Tyreek Hill, but they're good players. The fact that coaching staff will highlight that guy throughout the week in practice and then highlight him on Sunday as well is what really makes him special. So that's the dangerous aspect of this thing. Mecole Hardman's doing the same thing in Kansas City.
Right, he's playing great. Okay, we're having fun here on Texans Extra Points in the Ford Studios, and it's time now to get our Gatorade players to watch. So we'll start with you, Clint. Who are you keeping your eye on Texan to watch this week?
I'm going with Justin Reed. I think this offense, we've talked at length about what this offense can throw at a defense, but you also take into account that Gibson's out. You take into account that last week the long run by Josh Allen was a communication issue between Scarlett and Reed, trying to communicate it to all 3 levels. There's going to be some new blood in there at safety possibly, with Jalil Adai being banged up and Gibson being out. I think Reed handling what Kansas City can throw at him, as well as just communicating the way a safety needs to communicate in the NFL and in the playoffs, I think that is a huge key for this football game, all things considered.
He said he's learned a lot year 1, just like Deshaun Watson, year 1 versus year 2, and now he's playing in his 3rd playoff game. How about you? Who are you keeping your eyes on?
It may be like the easy answer, but I'm saying Deshaun Watson. I think he is the guy. He's the franchise guy. He had a career moment last week, taking completely over the game. And we just mentioned how his play, his leadership affects everybody around him, how he's able to raise everybody's game. So for me, it's Deshaun. He plays well. I'm pretty sure everybody else will play well. You got to give yourself a good chance to win that game.
I like it. And you know what else gives him a good chance? Having Kenny Stills, who was not there, like I pointed out earlier, like you guys have pointed out earlier. He was not there in October, and Kenny Stills can do some damage. We saw it happen against Tennessee. You had Fuller, you had Hopkins out there, and Kenny Stills is out there catching the touchdowns early because so much attention is devoted to him. Chiefs haven't seen him yet, and that's a different deal. All right, when we come back, we've got keys to a win, so stick with us. This is Texans Extra Points.
Texans Extra Points is sponsored by BHP and by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Houston Texans, and by your local Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
Welcome back, Texans Extra Points. The trivia question earlier was which Texan had or has 7 postseason sacks, and we had some good guesses. We had J.J. Watt as one. We had Seth Payne as another, which I don't know where that came from, but it's actually Whitney Merciless. Since 2015 he's done that. So, Cecil Shorts, Clint Sterner, we got to get things going. We're going to start with keys to a Texans win. We're going to finish with keys to a Texans win. What are the 2 things the Texans have to do tomorrow?
For me, I don't know if you can stop Patrick Mahomes, to be honest, but getting a turnover, getting some momentum on your side in Arrowhead Stadium would be huge. So I think you need to win that turnover battle. And then number 2, a big play on special teams. If that's Carter getting a good return on kickoff or a punt return, maybe a block kick, something on special teams to spark this and get some momentum going.
Angelo Blackson's helped you out there lately. He's
very
got a
much
couple
so. 2 in a row.
blocks. Yeah, I know it. How about you, Clint?
I got one big one for you.
Okay.
You've got to get Deshaun Watson rolling in the run game. If you get him week 6, they got him rolling. The game plan was phenomenal. Everything else kind of fell into place. But you get Deshaun Watson rolling in the run game, Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson are better in the run game. You get Deshaun Watson going in the run game, then all of a sudden Hopkins comes open and you can throw the football down the field and you can take your shots if Fuller's there. So just getting him involved. It doesn't matter if it's a 3-yard game.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a 4-yard game.
It's positive yardage.
It's the threat of it happening. They've got to respect it. It changes the defensive plan.
I like those. Those are good. I'm going to go with this. Start faster and hit them deep. Maybe do it in union. But I like what Clint's doing because another thing that the run game, getting him involved in the run game, it's going to give opportunities to Hopkins, to Stills, to Will Fuller. So let's go deep on them. Everyone said nobody's going to go deep against the Buffalo Bills, and the Texans were able to do it a time or two, and the Texans walked out of NRG Stadium with a win. Clint, Cecil, had a lot of fun. Maybe we do it again here in a couple weeks. That sound cool to you?
Come on now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dare to dream, right? Yeah. Well, we hope you have a fun one, and we hope to talk to you again very, very soon. Till then, go Texans.
Thanks for watching Texans Extra Points. Now, leave your keys to the game in the comments below.